Before this course began, I wasn't really sure about what we would learn about, and I was extremely nervous. I wasn't a confident speaker, and public speaking for me meant an extremely red face and sweaty hands. But now, reflecting back on the course, I learned a lot about techniques in public speaking, and even more, I learned a lot about myself as a public speaker. On a personal level, I realized that it wasn't that I was bad at public speaking, it was that I lacked a lot of confidence in my public speaking. I found a few key techniques and a few other skills that I could take advantage of from the course, and by building up my confidence, I became a better speaker. One of those techniques I used was speaking about something I knew a lot about. If I spoke about something that I was very confident in, I had a lot of personal experience and knowledge about, then I found that I was a much more confident speaker, and that way it improved my presentation. I also found that if I used personal stories, it helped to make the speech more interesting, and it helped to make the speech more comfortable for me to talk about. Speaking about things that I'm confident in and that I know a lot about helped me to engage my audience, I think, and also improve my speaking abilities. I also found that having note cards is extremely helpful. Oftentimes I get really nervous or will lose my train of thought, but I know what I want to say. I've practiced it again and again, but when I'm in front of the camera and in front of an audience, it makes me extremely nervous. So having a note card with triggering words was extremely helpful to me. And lastly, practice, like I mentioned, was extremely important to me. Preparation and practice and outlining helped me to go step by step and build up my speech into a final product. I also learned about a lot about public speaking in general. I learned about audience analysis, for example, which is the ability to characterize your audience and find out what they want from the speech, how much they know already, and what they're looking for. After learning about audience analysis, I made sure that I first identified who my audience was and then build my speech from there, knowing what they wanted to learn from me, for example, or what sort of communicative tone I should use was super helpful in making a successful speech. I also found that the 4 methods of delivery were super helpful for me, knowing when to use each. For example, in my last speech, I used 3 of the 4 delivery methods. I used manuscript when I was quoting information, or, for example, I quoted an author about the stresses of freshman year and how that can affect your eating and exercising and healthy habits, that transformation. And so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't misrepresenting her and that I quoted her correctly. So I used manuscript for that. But I used, for most of my speech, either extemporaneous, or memorization for the rest. At the beginning of class, we were asked if we improved as a public speaker, how could that improve our life on many different levels? And now reflecting back, I feel like I have accomplished some of those improvements. I have accomplished becoming a better speaker, and therefore I feel a lot more equipped for this year going into my junior year of college. I feel on a personal level, I now have much more confidence in myself, and I'll be able to be not so afraid, maybe not have such a red face, and will be able to better include myself and engage in other conversations. I also feel that on a professional level, now going into the career fairs, I feel much better equipped and a lot less nervous to speak to recruiters. And finally, on a public speaking level, in these huge lecture halls at Penn State, I was usually one to If I was confused, just keep quiet and look up the answers later. But now I feel like I might be able to hopefully raise my hand and ask a question or even include my opinions and ideas in the conversation. As a result of this course, speaking in front of others is now much less frightening to me, and I'm optimistic that this fall semester I will put to use many of the communicative and presenting skills I established through this course. Thanks for listening, and thanks for this course, Mr. Freckle.